Games Invitational in Atlanta. We do appreciate you guys watching. If you do want to interact with Tom and I as we do figure out who is going to make the finals here, feel free to tweet us at SCG Live, hashtag SCGINVI, as we do see Merriam and Soorani here figuring out who's going to be in the finals and who's going to go against Thompson versus Brondwan.
And these two players did play in the Swiss.
Okay.
In this tournament in Legacy. Shaheen won, he said, in 2 pretty easy games.
Okay.
So to give a little bit of color here on this exact matchup for these two lists, Shaheen's excited about this matchup. This is who he wanted to face. He did not want to face Adam Prozac.
Yeah.
That is a bad matchup.
Understandably so.
This, though, I think is something that Shaheen is very, very prepared for.
And so we are going to see Shaheen start off with a Marsh Flats. He's going to search out an Underground C. And we'll see if he's going to maybe start with a discard, spell, potentially
that is his optimal start.
Something. Yeah.
The optimal start here is certainly going to have a Thoughtseize ready position. I think game 1 is a very important game for Ross because Shaheen only has the 1 sweeper in his main deck. He can really capitalize here.
Yep. And
he needs this game.
So we are going to see an Inquisition of Kozilek. Our hand, they're also separated for us, a Bio, Quirion Ranger, Llanowar Elf, a Heritage Druid, a Glimpse of Nature, a Natural Order, and a Nettle Sentinel, so he does keep a 1-lander, something that does happen often with the Commonwealth deck.
And here is an interesting choice for Shaheen. Does he take the Llanowar Elf and leave Ross with just the 1 mana source, hoping to fade additional mana sources? Or does he take one of the more powerful cards, something like the Glimpse of Nature? Now, Ross also does have that, as Shaheen reads it, that Quirion Ranger, which will let him bounce the Bayou and replay it. Giving him kind of functionally 2 mana.
Yep. And Quirion Ranger is a card that we will bring up on the screen for you guys because that's a card that, you know, it's kind of old school. You know, if you learned about combo elves, maybe from Luis Scott Vargas and his victory in Pro Tour Berlin, and kind of picked up on it then, you know, there are a certain set of elves that you're used to. Quirion Ranger was not legal then, and it's, you know, it's a very, very powerful tool in this deck.
Absolutely.
Because it does generate so much mana and allows you to do what Ross did here, which is keep a 1-lander.
Yeah, so here, I mean, Shaheen's definitely debating between those 2 elves. I would be surprised to see him take any of the other cards. I mean, there is some argument for Glimpse.
Nature is scary.
Because Ross happens to have a very elf-heavy hand, something like a Cradle could just let him go off on turn 2.
Yep.
Maybe Shaheen wants to hedge against that and take the Glimpse. He sees some redundancy in the other elves and doesn't think he can pick them apart. Looking at Shaheen's hand, he does not have the spot removal that he really wants. He does not have a Swords of Plowshares to kill the first play. So he's relying really heavily on this Inquisition getting the job done. So he needs to be very careful with what he takes here.
When you bring up Gaia's Cradle, a card that can generate a ton of mana very quickly, especially in this combo elf deck that's full of creatures. Typically, Tom, you find 1 or 2 of those, maybe a crop rotation. You have 4 copies of that card in Merriam's deck list.
Which is very unusual.
That's
I mean, you definitely see 2 typically with some crop rotations. We do see Shaheen taking the Llanowar Elf, which is my instinct as well.
Okay.
And Ross drawing an Arbor Dryad, or Dryad Arbor, other way around, which, interesting here, you get playing Nettle Sentinel. So he drew a land, but not one he'll be able to use for mana next turn.
We'll see Shaheen start off his turn with a Brainstorm. Supreme Verdict drawn, along with Intuition, I believe a Snapcaster Mage. A very, very important draw, as you've been highlighting Master Removal multiple times over the course of this matchup.
But does he have a 3rd land to cast the Intuition to get things going here? I'm not sure he does.
So you see
he looks like black border land in the
middle.
middle.
It looks like a swamp.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like a black bordered swamp.
So he does have 3 lands. That's going to be huge. Because he needs to now shuffle away that 2nd card down because he doesn't want to have to, he wants to make sure he hits his 4th land on turn 4.
So now you do see Ross is going to draw a Deathrite Shaman. Here comes the Nettle Sentinel. That's going to get across for 2, and then he'll be able to play a green spell to untap it. So you do want to get your attack in here first. He's going to follow that up with the Deathrite Shaman.
Interesting.
And now a Dryad Arbor, and he does not untap his Nettle Sentinel. I think that's more interesting of the 2.
That is a mistake, but I wouldn't even consider it. I think if he just plays... Ooh, and here we see the flashback. That's a huge turn for Shaheen.
Yeah.
So he's going to accept the fact he's going to miss his 4th land drop now, in order to kind of pick away that hand and get that. Possibly, I think Ross maybe should have gone Quirion Dryad, untap Nettle Sentinel, bounce Bayou, play Bayou, cast Heritage Druid in that spot, and just really get his board established. That said, though, there is a land sitting in Shaheen's graveyard. So it's possible that he just wants to use the Deathrite Shaman for mana next turn.
Inside, you do see the Inquisition, you see that Quirion Ranger, you see the Glimpse of Nature, the Heritage Druid, and the Natural Order in Merriam's hand. Of course, Shaheen knew about most of these cards here, so he's just trying to figure out. Yeah, he knew about all 4, so he's trying to figure out what to take, what to do to break up some of the things going on here.
interesting.
It looks like he's going to take a glimpse. It just sounds like me. You don't really agree with Ross's line of play right now.
Well, okay, there we go. Ross is not untap his Sentinel. I'm not sure. I think this was a tough spot for Shaheen there. I think he just wants to, now that he has Supreme Verdict in his hand, he can even intuition for 3 white sources this turn. He also has Force of Will. Okay. It looks like in the back of his hand. Because he has Force of Will, I might have just taken one of the other elves and then just wanted to force the glimpse. But maybe he can always just force his Heritage Druid here if that's what he wants to be doing. Or just set it up for he can play that sweeper and just save the force for natural order, which is what I think Shane's going to end up doing.
So we are going to see a Heritage Druid. Nettle Sentinel is going to untap.
And here comes that.
Is it going to be an attack? It looks like it's going to be a lot of green mana. Looks like he's maybe just going to go for a natural order here. Queer and Ranger. All right, so that's going to untap that because that's a green spell.
Yep, we're going to return the bio and tapping another one. So we are going for natural order. If that is a forcible, I hope it's a forcible for Shaheen's sake. Although Shaheen's might be in trouble.
I'm taking a look at the things that Ross
it's just intuition. It's not a forcible.
Just taking a look at the things that Ross can natural order up. Is just you're going to see a Queer and Ranger activation here. He's going to untap the Dried Arbor, which is a creature.
Yep.
And return the Bayou.
Oh, I think he should be untapping an elf. Okay. So he can reactivate his Heritage Druid.
Okay. So he looks like he's going to untap Deathrite Shaman. All right. Bayou comes back, plays his first land for the turn, and here's natural order, sacrificing the Heritage Druid.
Interesting. He's just getting Crater Hoof Behemoth and killing Shaheen. So that's effective.
So there's a Crater Hoof Behemoth. And is that lethal? +5? Because of the Dried Arbor as well? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Yep. That is lethal.
Is that flat lethal? Yeah, because he started his turn with the Nettle Sentinel into Deathrite Shaman. 5. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. I think she can't feel great at losing that one through 2 Inquisitions.
Through 2 Inquisitions?
And the first one I agreed with, I do not think he should have taken that glimpse. I would have taken Heritage Druid, as I said at the time. I think it's just he wants to avoid the explosive mana. And I think Ross also made a mistake by leaving himself exposed to that. He should have played the Heritage Druid a turn earlier, I think. I think it would have gone the same way. But it worked out. Shaheen may have slightly misstepped there on that second Inquisition.
It's really tough on what to take with the Inquisition there, because if you leave him with the glimpse, he can start to just cantrip a bunch, and Shaheen did not have a 4th land in his hand to cast Supreme Verdict.
No, but you leave him with the glimpse, he only has 1 creature in his hand.
Okay.
Right, if you take, he has no creature. If you take he just has the Queer and Ranger.
Yep.
So you leave him with 1 creature, not much mana.
Sure, yeah, so he can't generate a huge mana advantage.
Heritage Druid is the engine,
yep,
not the glimpse. And so that's why I think we would have, I would have picked that off.
Okay, we're going to bring it back to the booth for you guys really quickly, because we are going to give away some trivia. So let's bring it back to both of us. Looks like we got to give away 3 months.
3 months?
Yeah, we got to give away 3 months right now. You know, the quarterfinals were so good, we forgot to give away trivia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You think of that in the 2 hours you had on camera.
I do this so much, and then I just blow it. I blow the most important thing. Unbelievable. So we're going to give away 3 months right now for you guys. Simply, we're going to ask you a question. Hashtag your answer to SCG Premium. And we're going to select...
Do you have one? Because I have a good one.
We do after I explain. I'll let you do it after I explain the rules. Okay. Hashtag the answer SCG Premium. We'll select one of the people who does get the answer correct. Again, it is about accuracy, not speed. In this this semifinals is going to take so long that we're going to give it away after the semifinals before we do the finals. But Tommy, you have a question. So
I do. I have a question for you guys. So, in Jerry's quarterfinal match, which we just saw on camera, what enchantment did Philip Loren board in from his sideboard? And ended up drawing too many of them and really getting his hand clogged up such that he could not go off efficiently with his combo deck.
Okay. All right. So if you're able to name that enchantment that Philip Loren drew a lot of, probably too many of. He did have one, I believe all 3 sideboard games, and a card that isn't his sideboard. If you can't name that enchantment that Philip Loren did draw, as you said, drew too many of them, which we thought was something that could happen, that may have been the thing that did do him in and end his tournament in the quarterfinals. Hashtag your answer to SCG Premium. Again, we will select 1 winner from that, of the winners, people who do get the answer correct, and then we will give it away after this entire round, the semifinals here, which might take a little while. So we're going to take a look at the sideboards here between Merriam and Soorani. Again, Ross Merriam is going to be up a game here. We're going to go over Shaheen's first, as he's going to be on the play, as both players are shuffling up here. We talked about the Parish, we talked about the Supreme Verdict, we're probably going to talk about the Inquisition of Kozilek.
Those are all coming in for sure. I think those are the only 3 that are definitely coming in. He also can bring in those Cabal Therapies, which I suspect he will. You really want to rip apart their hand.
Okay.
In that spot there, if he'd had a Thoughtseize or if he had or a Cabal Therapy, he could have picked off that natural order, which is really the scary card.
Okay.
but instead he was not able to get that out of Ross's hand, and he ended up losing to it. So I think those are the cards that are going to come in. Things that can come out are things like Intuition and Lingering Souls, which are all way too slow to really be effective in this matchup.
Sure.
So I think those are kind of your first 4 cards you want to cut. After that, other things that are certainly cuttable. The Vindicate can be a little bit slow. Vendilion Click can be a little slow, and even Counterspell, because you're being very proactive in this matchup. You're trying to Thought Seize and play your spells very aggressively, tapping mana. It can be hard to leave up blue sometimes. Although I do think Counterspell will end up staying in because there are just other cards that are worse.
Okay. Taking a look at Merriam's sideboard, we talked about Abrupt Decay. We've talked about Cabal Therapy as well, a card that you think that is too difficult to name with in this matchup. Abrupt Decay, I think, comes in, as we said earlier, for the Stoneforge Mystic, for the Umezawa's Jeet as well, so be able to take care of those. And you see a bunch of one-ofs in this sideboard. You see Mindbreak Trap, Natural Order, Dryad Arbor, Progenitus, Viridian Shaman, Qasali Pride Mage, Gaddock Teeg, and Scavenging Ooze. You see all those one-ofs because he does have Natural Order and Green Sun Zenith in his deck. Taking a look at those one-ofs, you said that you felt Viridian Shaman and Qasali Pride Mage do come in as proactive answers to those problems.
I definitely prefer those to Replicate.
You also see the Gaddock Teeg, and how good do you feel Gaddock Teeg is here? Because it can take care of an engineer explosives in both those verdicts.
That is true. I mean, the presence of the move to Verdict from Perish that we're seeing in a lot of these sideboards makes the Gaddock Teeg a much more reasonable choice here. It does shut down your Green Sun Zeniths.
True.
So there's some drawback there, and also shuts down your Natural Orders.
True.
And those are your two, I think, kind of plan A in this deck, in this matchup. So I'm not sure you want to bring that in, but I mean, 1 copy with 4 Zeniths might be worth it.
You know, we saw Merriam beat Adam Prozac with those cards after talking to him. You know, but this is a different situation. Prozac needs to be able to get Gaddock Teeg off the board. Ross needs it to be able to stop Prozac from, you know, going off and comboing with the Storm deck. But Shaheen has many ways to get Gaddock Teeg off the board, so it's not like if Ross puts that Gaddock Teeg to play, it's lights out for Shaheen. Anything, it's far from that.
That's true, but it does soak up that removal spell that then can't kill off one of your critical elves like Heritage Druid, like what we saw in that game there. So I would not be surprised if he brings in Gaddock Teeg, Qasali Pride Mage, Viridian Shaman, maybe some copies of Cabal Therapy. But one thing he wants to be careful of is to not over sideboard.
Yeah.
Don't dilute your deck down so much that you're not effective at doing what you normally are doing as a kind of a combo deck.
As you do see, Shaheen keeps his opening 7 cards. Ross could not mulligan any faster, so he is going to move down to 6. And it makes you wonder, maybe just no lands in that hand. This deck only does play 19 lands, maybe 2 Gaia's Cradles, something of that nature. Deck does mulligan relatively well, though.
It definitely does. So here I think we're going to see, the important thing here, Shaheen did not get rattled from that last game. When you lose a game on turn 3 after double inquisitioning your opponent, you don't feel great.
Probably not.
It's not the best feeling in the world, especially when he didn't top deck something on that 3rd turn to win. He used the cards you already knew about.
Yeah, he pieced everything together on his own.
Yeah, so Shaheen, I mean, made a small miscalculation there, but he's been here a bunch before. He's not going to get flustered by that. He's going to shake it off, and I think it will not impact his play in this game.
So we'll see if Merriam is able to find a reasonable 6-card hand to keep. Also interested, to see what kind of 7-card hand Soorani gets kept here. Because I think that we can both agree his first hand was pretty good.
Sure.
You saw Inquisition, and you saw Snapcaster Brainstorm. I think we saw Inquisition and a Brainstorm and a Snapcaster Inquisition. So I think that's a hand that he's looking to keep, and he lost anyway. So it can get a little bit discouraging.
He really wants the Swords of the Plowshares.
Okay.
The first spot removal spell is so valuable. One, it turns on your Snapcasters to be able to do spot removal, which is typically more important than the hand disruption.
Okay.
Once the game progresses past kind of the 2nd and 3rd turn. So that's huge.
And we are going to see some hand disruption here. We see 2 copies of Wirewood Symbiote, a Heritage Druid, a Natural Order, as he's going to take that Heritage Druid immediately, it looks like, a Bayou and a Savannah.
I actually don't agree with that choice. I think it's because Symbiote's so problematic in trying to be able to kill off his other elves.
Sure.
You don't want to have to kill off both of them. And the Heritage Druid is not scary when you only have 1 elf, although we do see Shaheen just peel that Supreme Verdict, and he does have 1 Swords of Plowshares in his hand. So I think I would have been inclined to take the Heritage Druid, take the Symbiote and just Swords the next Symbiote.
Okay.
And that way when you want a Wrath, he can't bounce 2 elves to his hand. It really makes it hard for him to interact with your removal.
Because we're going to see a Stoneforge Mystic here from Soorani. That's going to get Umezawa's Jeet, and we are going to get things underway here. Put some pressure on Merriam right away.
Well, we do know Merriam has that Viridian Shaman in his hand. It will unfortunately not pick off the Jit before it gets active, assuming Shaheen doesn't kind of walk into it, which there's no way he's going to.
Yeah, I can't imagine he does.
It's hard to even come up with a line where he could, because he just activates Stoneforge Mystic for 2 mana at the end of the turn. So there's really no way that's going to happen unless we see Ross with one of his Cabal Therapies, should he have brought them in.
Sure.
We know he doesn't have one in hand. He drew a 2nd Natural Order.
Ascension Immortal Event Players, round 3.
So let's see what Ross chooses to do this turn. As you said, he did draw that second natural order. Probably just play out that that other wire with some like just pass the turn back. I think is the safest play. But maybe he does just want to hold on to this too. So maybe he doesn't expose himself to an entered explosives for one and blowing both of those up. As that is a very useful resource in his deck. Are those symbiotes?
Yeah, I think he's gonna hold it here. Well, if he holds it though, it makes his best draw, which it makes Cradle into a mediocre draw.
Mm-hmm.
I think he might play it so he can just go Cradle natural order.
Okay.
Because he certainly feels behind here. He has no elves anywhere in sight. They're just the one Viridian Shaman. He knows there's about to be a Jit coming on, turning on next turn, and picking off both symbiotes.
Yep.
So he really needs to top deck a Cradle here, I think.
Shaheen going to start with a Ponder, a Perish, a Stoneforge Mystic, and a Supreme Verdict are the cards that he is taking a look at.
Does he have a land in hand? He does not. So this is a risky Ponder. This is actually, I think, a greedy Ponder. So it's challenging in these spots where you're missing your land drop if you don't dig. And so you really want to go dig for your third land. And Ponder's pretty safe. You're pretty likely to find it. That said, your other option is to just play Jit, equip Jit, hit him.
Sure.
Maybe he's worried about Rep Decay. Maybe he's worried about that Ross may have a top deck to Rep Decay to counteract that line.
Mm-hmm.
But otherwise, missing here is so bad. He goes from being way ahead to way behind. It slows his Jit down by a whole turn.
Mm-hmm.
And that gives Ross a whole extra turn to try to set up and go off with his combo.
Let's see what he draws.
He does draw the land.
Okay, so he does draw planes.
Huge sigh of relief there for Shaheen. That is the biggest sweat. And I've been on both sides. I've in that spot run the Ponder, and then when you miss, you kick yourself. Like, why did I go for it?
Yep.
It really have to weigh. What's your other option? How good is this Jit here? If the Jit's insane, which I think it's insane on this board, not worth risking it.
Okay.
If you don't have, you have something that's only kind of marginally okay. It would say versus playing a Stoneforge Mystic, maybe then you're going to go for the Ponder.
So we're going to see Swords try to take out the Deathbright Shaman. He's going to bounce it. He's going to equip the Jit and attack. Yep. You see Ross going to double block, get that Stoneforge Mystic off the board, but the Umazawa Jit does have counters on it. So now you're going to see a value. You're going to see Viridian Shaman. Yep. Good night. Get that out of here.
So a little fast flurry of action there. We end up trading 3 cards for 3 cards, but that's what Shaheen wants to do. He wants these 1-for-1 trades.
Now here's a question for you.
I ponder. That's your question. I don't need to.
That is my question. That is my question. Do you ponder?
In this spot, I ponder.
Okay.
So the difference here between this turn and the previous turn when I was talking about is here, your alternative isn't that exciting.
Okay.
Right? You're not super excited to intuition for a land.
Okay.
And you also have a brainstorm along with your ponder.
We're going to see Swords take this out right away. Doesn't want it to get bounced with symbiote or anything of that nature. So you see some, as you said, a flurry back and forth. Now we're going to see a main phase brainstorm here from Shaheen as well.
And I really like the way Shaheen's brainstorming. So some people, they criticize players for these kind of main phase brainstorms, and I like being aggressive with my brainstorms in spots where you need to dig for action.
Sure.
Shaheen knew that land was there.
Sure.
It is absolutely worth going there to get it. And now, especially since he's going to resolve this Wrath now, wiping the board, Ross going to have 2 cards, 2 natural orders against an empty board, and then he's going to play Jace the following turn.
Yeah.
With another Wrath in hand. This is the way Shaheen wants these games to develop.
You need to just trade those resources off quickly.
Every turn should be interactive until the board. I do not like this play.
So we're going to see Jace the Mind Sculptor come into play here, and he's going to bounce that. You sound very surprised by that, as we're going to see a draw here of a of a Land of War Elf. Explain why you don't like the Jace play, just because you do want to just trade 2 for 1 with the Verdict, or 1 for 1, it would be, because you bounce the Deathbright Shaman. So it would be a trade of Verdict for Symbiote, which it sounds like you don't like very much.
I just want it would wipe the board clean, right? I just want to keep clearing this board and making Ross start from scratch again. And treaded water. So here's going to end up working out better that he waited because he didn't get punished. But there I'd be afraid,
As we're going to see a brainstorm here for Shaheen. Inquisition, Source of Plowshares, and a polluted Delta.
Ooh, this is
so
huge
he does
now.
find a land.
So now he's going to play the Delta, he's going to Wrath, and then whichever elf gets bounced, he's going to get the Inquisition away.
Now we think he's going to Wrath. He's sacrificing a land right now. We think that he's going to Wrath. Is he going to? I mean, he has a Batter Skull in his hand.
He can't possibly play Batter Skull. Gosh, I hope he doesn't play Batter Skull there. So I mean, he could Batter Skull and bounce because Hoof won't be enough. He needs to be doing a lot of math then on the Critter Behemoth to make sure that he can't get killed. But I'm not convinced he can't. Okay, tapping.
All right, there's your 4 mana.
He just got the land he knew he was Inquisitioning as well and wanted to save some time.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Sounds like you did not want to see a Batter Skull play this turn.
Okay, last turn was defensible, I think, because the natural order wasn't that threatening.
Okay.
And maybe even Shane's line is right there, because he just knows that, it doesn't matter if he natural orders in this spot, because he gets a Creative Behemoth and just kills my Jace.
Sure.
That's it. I don't want to throw my Jace away.
I know. Who wants to throw Jace away? It's a beautiful card.
We have no action yet. I mean, we do have this intuition, which we maybe try to get some action building. Oh, and that's a good draw
Right,
for
that's
the
good.
4th symbiote.
Symbiote, yeah, so that can turn some things around, as that's one of the mini combos of this deck. Elvish Visionary and Wirewood Symbiote being able to draw multiple cards a turn. As we do see Shaheen, he does have an Inquisition, an Intuition in his hand, another Verdict, and a Mystery Blue card, so he did shuffle away the Batterskull.
It's
So,
either Counterspell or Snapcaster. It's the back card. If it's Snapcaster, I think he might just swords that symbiote right now.
as you do see a Brainstorm revealing a Force of Will, a Karakas, and a Mystery card here. It looks to be a land. It looks like he's going to be putting back, it's a Polluted Delta.
Yeah, he might put back land here. Doesn't actually need a 6th land in this spot, although it looks like he might just want Karakas for Val. I like, it depends what that last blue card is. If it's Counterspell, I would keep the Intuition and put back the Forcible. If it's Snapcaster, and you know you're going to snap swords that symbiote,
A lot of decisions here.
it is Snapcaster, okay. So I think his turn's going to be Snap. It's going to be Snapcaster, swords in the symbiote, leaving a Counterspell.
Sure.
He will not have enough mana to cast the Intuition, so
Okay.
there's no reason to keep it in his hand. He can go ahead and put that one back on top safely. And then keeping land I like.
Really considering his options here with how he wants to set up his next couple turns, because this Brainstorm, it leads to the next 2 or 3 turns.
Absolutely.
What he's planning on doing, how he sets this up.
So he's keeping. Right, sorry, because he doesn't have Counterspell. Right, yeah, okay, of course. So yeah, he's keeping. That makes sense. So yeah, so he's going to go ahead and Snapcaster swords that symbiote, which is the scariest card for. Oh, I stand corrected.
You do stand corrected, as we are going to see an Intuition here. So let's see what he is going to search out here.
3 more swords.
What is his plan? Does his plan revolve around Lingering Souls? It does revolve around Lingering
Why
Souls.
are those still in his library?
You were surprised by this. Explain.
They're just usually, I mean, they do close out games reasonably fast, but when you get to this board state here, where Shaheen just overloaded on removal and can just kill every creature that Ross plays, you have a million ways you can win the game. And by casting his Lingering Souls, it makes it really hard for him now to play that Verdict profitably.
So now we see a flashback on Lingering Souls. 2 Spirit Tokens are going to come into play. We're also going to get one of those white dice on our Jace here, so we can see exactly how many counters are on there. I'm not sure if that's a 2, if that's a 1. Just want to make it clear for everyone at home as well.
It's on
So
1.
it's a 1. So that's important.
It's bouncing on attack.
Yeah, so I want to make sure that I thought it was a 2 for a moment there. So we have that cleared up. You're going to see Ross bounce that Elvish Visionary on the end step, because he wants to draw multiple cards this turn. So
Also, I think that's I think if I was Ross, I would have been thinking much more about getting Hoof and killing that Jace. But maybe he needs to save it and make sure the Hoof's lethal, and that's why he's holding off there.
And so we are going to see Ross does draw a card. He does draw Queer and Rangers off that. And you also see a Guy's Cradle in his hand right now, along with those 2 natural orders. So here comes the Queer and Ranger. So let's see what Ross wants to do this turn. Now he's going to be +3 mana because of Gaia's Cradle, a card that we'll bring up on the screen for you guys. He's going to bounce the Visionary. He's going to draw another card, draws a second Cradle.
He's going to go ahead and pass the turn here.
And he's just going to pass the turn back. So Jay's still alive. An Underground Sea, plus a Brainstorm here.
Ooh, and an Explosives.
Explosives can turn things around
So
pretty
now-
well here. I mean, I think, of course, Public Enemy #1 still is that Wirewood Symbiote, getting that thing off the table.
I would just immediately Snapcaster swords that thing like I would have last turn. I think those guys just don't want to leave them in play. There's just no reason to fool around with it and take chances there. Obviously, Shaheen plays his matchup in a little bit more a different style than I do.
Yep.
He plays it a little more aggressively. We seem to, and it's possible that he's not really taking chances here. That I might be playing too conservatively. I would not be shocked if that was the case.
So now we're going to see a Supreme Verdict clear things up here. So bouncing the Elvish Visionary, going to take care of the Symbiote and the Queer Ranger. So he's going to get his 2 for 1. Lingering Souls tokens don't matter very much if those 2 die. And he's going to play land. He's going to flash back Lingering Souls, and he has Forcible plus a blue card in his hand to be able to counter whatever relevant card is. And I think the most relevant card right now for Ross is just that Visionary, as he's going to draw a card. He draws a Glimpse of Nature, which doesn't have a huge impact on this game at all right now.
Correct. So I wonder if so he's going to try to draw 2 now off of this. Whoa, why are we for? Oh, I guess Shaheen doesn't know his full hand. That doesn't seem necessary to me, right? He only has 2 more mana.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess it's whenever you. Never mind. Sorry, it's whenever you play.
Yeah, it's whenever you play.
Right,
Yeah, it doesn't have to show
okay,
to play. Yeah, so
that I do like that then. I will adjust my hasty critique on that line. And Shaheen's whole line here, I mean, it's proving out to be pretty effective. It's possible that I was trying to play around phantoms that don't exist, and that this was actually like quite secure of a line for Shaheen.
The one thing that you see with Shaheen is that he hasn't deviated from his plan. He's been playing aggressive the entire time. Maybe taking some risks. You can argue about necessary versus unnecessary risks, but he has a plan in his mind of what he wants to do, and he has certainly stuck to it. As you said, he's already defeated Merriam once in this tournament in the Swiss.
Yep.
He's got an idea of what he wants to do. I think you can tell that much. As you know, you're comparing what you would do in this situation versus him, and it does seem like they're drastically different. But it doesn't mean that one is right or one is right and one is wrong. Yeah.
As long as, I think there's multiple ways to just skin a cat, as they say.
Yeah, multiple ways to eat a Reese's.
And I think this matchup is so good that you can afford to take different lines as per player. I think certainly Shaheen's line here is working out very well. I think my more conservative line would also have us way ahead. Even my sideboarding plan, very different than Shaheen's. I'm curious now to see what he took out to fit in all of these cards he wants to bring. And I suspect he did cut the Vindicate now. Maybe cut a Jace. Probably cut the Vendilion Click. Although Vendilion Click kind of supports his more aggressive version, his more aggressive plan.
Hard cast Force of Will there on a natural order. Ross does lose his Elvish Visionary. So Shaheen is very happy with that 2-for-1.
Do you like sacking the Visionary there instead of the Dryad Arbor?
I think you'd prefer to sack the Arbor. Maybe he does want the land in play, though. But I think Visionary, with no symbiotes left, however, Visionary's usefulness
that's very true.
Has gone down, as you're going to see at Thoughtseize here. 2 Cradles in Ross's hand. There goes that last natural order. So Shaheen knows that he's out of action, and now Jace can be in to take over this game. Maybe we're going to start seeing some Faith Sealing here. Flashing back of Lingering Souls. You're going to see Stoneforge Mystic. It's going to search up Batterskull, as that Nimzawa's Jit is already gone now. And now Shaheen has what I would say is fully turned the corner and is just looking to close the game out now to move on to game number 3.
There's no kind of individual cards. Ross's deck needs a critical mass. It's a critical mass combo deck, similar in some ways to Ant.
Yep.
Ant, however, can get that critical mass from its graveyard with Past in Flames.
Yep.
Elves can only get that critical mass from either its hand or its library with it has Glimpse of Nature.
Yep.
So the only thing he can do here is draw Glimpse of Nature and then draw another elf. That's how he gets things going.
So you see Elvish Visionary is the card he's going to draw and cast, looking to cantrip here. He does draw a card, draws a Verdant Catacombs, and just a lot of his draw steps are poor now. It does revolve around Glimpse of Nature.
Setting up multiple other draw steps.
Yep.
He needs to get very lucky now to get back in this game.
And with Force of Will being in Shaheen's hand and Jace being able to control the draw step, or just brainstorm and just allow him to get deeper into his deck, he's able to control what's going to happen over the course of this game now.
Yep.
And if there is something that he does care about, Shaheen, he can just counterspell it.
Right. I noticed watching Shaheen play against Hetrick that he brainstorms very aggressively.
Sure.
In spots like here, for instance, I would have switched to just Fate Sealing.
Sure.
Because I feel like it's just you already have all the business you need in your hand. I'd rather just make him use that Verdant Catacomb and use the plussing to control what Ross is doing. Shaheen's philosophy here, and it's consistent across the board, has been he's going to use the brainstorming just to get more action, to be able to interact continuously. And there's downsides to both. If Shaheen hits a pocket of lands, and Ross draws live spells, he can play through this plan. Alternatively, if you just start Fate Sealing, but Ross happens to have 2 action cards in a row, downside there as well. So I'm not convinced which one is correct. I think Shaheen's had great success though with this plan, and I'm starting to reconsider exactly how conservative I am with my Jaces, because I've actually liked him a spot where my instinct was not to brainstorm. He brainstormed, and I said, oh, actually that makes sense.
True. Ross is going to sack that Verdant Catacombs, search out a forest. So now the Jace Fate Seal is a little bit better now because there's no Verdant Catacombs to have to worry about.
I'm not even sure I would have searched there. Getting 1 land out of your deck, the marginal improvement of your draws is such a fraction of a percentage points. Being able to protect yourself from that first Fate Seal probably more valuable.
Yep. At least it lets you maybe run into a little runner situation.
Yep.
Which at this point it looks like that's what Ross is going to need to win this game, and you're going to draw a Deathrite Shaman, a card that again does not have a very large impact on this board.
He needs to just hold it. He needs to hold it and hope. Oh no, there it goes. I think he should be holding it and just hoping to get a Glimpse of Nature going.
Try to build up a critical mass of elves and then cast Glimpse of Nature, and just try to chain off that way. Shaheen's going to put in the Batterskull on Ross's end step. Here comes your Germ Token. Here comes your 4/4 Vigilant Life Linking Equipment. Gonna untap, gonna draw. Flooded Strand is the draw step for Shaheen. Also has that Engineer Explosives in his hand, which he is going to play here. No 1 casting cost creatures in play for Shaheen. So Deathrite Shaman, gonna bite the dust. That's a 1-for-1 trade. There's a Flooded Strand. Here come your attackers.
I would send everyone, and actually, oh no, we're okay.
Wants to hold steady on Stoneforge Mystic. A little surprised by that.
Well, he's gonna brainstorm with Jace again.
3. Lingering Souls and a couple lands.
There's the Arbor Dryad and the Visionary, so he just wants to make sure his Jace stays alive.
Yeah, sure.
And Ross at 7 versus Ross at 5, not a big difference. Although here we do see Green Sun Zenith, which will be for a lot. Although it will get forcible, as we know.
So Ross is going to Green Sun Zenith here.
Or it'll be for 1.
And Shaheen knows the 2 cards in Ross's hands are the Gaia's Cradle from an earlier discard spell. So does he want to let this resolve or not? He's trying to figure out, does he care? And he said he decides he doesn't care. Queer and Ranger is the card that is going to be brought into play here. And again, I don't think that has a very large impact on this game either.
It doesn't. I'm not quite sure why that was the one that Ross wanted to go get there. But that said, I mean, Shaheen could have just forcible as he had Ross dead on board. Now it'll probably take an extra turn to finish it, but he probably didn't want to think through all the iterations and just playing it safe.
Yeah, when they put in Zenith for 1, and you know that 4 Wildwood Symbiotes are no longer in your opponent's deck, there's not a ton to worry about at that point. You look at the 1-drops in this deck: 4 Deathrite Shamans, Llanowar Elves, Finhorn Elf, Birchlore Ranger, 4 Heritage Druid, 4 Nettle Sentinel.
None of those things are doing much.
Yeah, nothing to really be scared of there.
And just to make it clear, why I say he's dead on board, the line that kills him using just the cards that we know about in play in the Snapcaster in Shaheen's hand is he just Snapcaster swords one of either the Dryad or the Ranger, and bounces the other with Jace, and then hits him for 8. Sure. He'll gain 1 life off the swords, going to 8, and then would have been killed. Shaheen now doing math, probably actually realizing that he could have just killed him.
And he is going to untap Dryad. You see a little bit of frustration in his face. I think he realized as well, just as you said, that I could have finished this game off 1 turn earlier. And you do see, as you said, Tom, and what I think was going to see is going to be, consistent over the course of this match, very aggressive brainstorming. Certainly a spot to Fate Seal in, but Shaheen has decided, and I think it's going to be consistent throughout this match, he's just going to keep brainstorming, as he's going to shoot up a Lingering Souls token in the air, he's going to give the beatdowns in the air, and he's going to be able to put Ross down to 1 instead of none.
I mean, it's obviously this is fine. Any play kills him, and we still have the forcible with the blue card to pitch. So
Ross draws the Misty Rainforest and is going to concede the game. So Shaheen is going to tie this game up against Merriam, Esper Stoneblade versus Elves, as we're going to go to a 3rd game here and see if maybe both players do go back to the drawing board. You already see Ross shuffling again, so it looks like he's happy with his configuration, and you don't really. We'll see if Shaheen decides to change anything. As Tommy, you're a little surprised that Lingering Souls is still in the deck. Osip was almost positive Lingering Souls is going to come out, as he felt it's not a very good card in this matchup. I certainly see some things that it can do in this matchup, but Shaheen decided that he wants to leave those in.
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 things that it does well. I mean, one, Elves, certainly some games, they move off of the combo plan and they just try to attack through and kill you with damage with a bunch of Elves. This list doesn't seem to have the Elf Lord, right, who gives all of their Elves +1/+1 and taps for mana per Elf.
Yeah, the Elvish Archdruid.
Yeah, I don't see that here in this list. So I think this list is not, it's much worse at going aggressive.
Yep.
It only combos out with Behemoth to kill you. Maybe it can get you for 1s and 2s here and there, but it's not doing enough with that. So I think against those lists, maybe you want to have the blockers. Here, I think it's less important. It does close out games somewhat more effectively than your other cards, but Batterskull by itself is going to close out a game pretty quickly. I think the marginal utility of the Lingering Souls, taking up those slots, which could be interactive, I want as few win conditions as I need in my deck in this matchup, because I want all my cards interacting with my opponent. I want to make sure he never gets a chance to combo me off. He never gets a critical mass of Elves in play. And the way you do that is by maximizing your kind of interactive spells. I don't know what Shaheen cut to leave those 4 cards in, the Intuition, which is very slow to me, and those 3 Lingering Souls. I'm looking at it now and I still can't quite come up with it, but I'm sure he found, maybe he shaved something like Ponders, which again, I wouldn't want to be doing because I want to dig for those sweepers. Maybe he cut Vendilion Click, maybe he cut Counterspell, maybe thinks it's too slow.
We did see Forcible, and I think you want to leave those in anyway.
Sure, I mean, it seems strange to me if you cut Counterspell for being too slow to interact, but you leave an Intuition.
Yep. That's
strange to me. I'm struggling. Vindicate is the one thing that does make some sense.
Yep.
But I'd almost rather have Vindicate than Lingering Souls as well, because at least it still kills something. 3 mana kill your Wyvern Symbiote, I'll take that deal.
The answer is maybe he didn't sideboard in very much. Maybe he sideboarded into Perish, Supreme Verdict, and Inquisition, and then that's it.
But it's still 3 cards, and I'm struggling to figure out what 3 you're cutting, because I'm only trying to bring in 3 or 4 myself out of his sideboard. So I don't know, it would be interesting to talk to Shaheen afterwards and see what was his sideboard plan. Because I get his desire to go aggressive, that's how he's playing the deck.
Yep.
But you have to cut something.
Yeah. You can't just board into 60, 63, 64.
We wouldn't want to if you could.
Yeah. We're going to cut back to the booth really quickly here for you guys as those players are sideboarding, because we're going to get those 3 months of trivia given away for you really quick. Tom, your question again.
The question again was, what enchantment in the Jerry Thompson matchup against Philip Lauren did Philip bring in to interact with Jerry's sort of targeted discard that he may have drawn too many of, and probably got in the way of him winning the match.
The answer to that question, of course, was Leyline of Sanctity.
Leyline of Sanctity,
card that wasn't surprising to see him board in. And I think you want to board in to be able to trump those Himatorax, those Thoughtseizes, what have you. But as you said, he drew too many of those, I think, over the course of the match, and ended up losing. Still a fantastic tournament for him, but Jerry did move on. Our winner is Jonathan Wilson at J. Wilson KSU. I'm going to guess Kansas State University. Congratulations over to you. 3 months of premium are being given away, of course, to you. So we appreciate you watching, appreciate you following, and make sure you are following at SCG Live so we can message you and get the Twitter over to you. As we are going to cut back to the Merriam Soorani match here. Both players probably done shuffling, almost about ready to go here.
I guess.
Stay tuned for a little bit longer this round because I made the little misstep. Forgot to give away those 3 months of premium during last round because so much awesome action was going on. We're also going to give away those 6 months later this round as well because, we do have the rest of this match, and Brown Duwan versus Jerry Thompson probably going to take a little while. And if you guys are wondering how that match is going, BBD is up a game right now, and actually he's up 2 games against Jerry Thompson, we are being informed. So Jerry does have his back against the wall right now.
It looks like here we see Ross Merriam taking a mulligan on the play, Shaheen keeping his 7.
Okay.
So already a little bit of a hole, especially since Shaheen's plan, and that he does so well, is trade 1 for 1. Cards really matter in this matchup.
Yeah, they do.
It's hard to sneak through kind of an explosive start.
All right, so the difference here is Ross is going to be on the play versus the draw last game, so he's not going to be able to be targeted by a discard spell right away. Maybe slide something, and then he does need like a Land War Elf or a Finhorn Elf to get some mana going.
But again, because his cards are also interchangeable, Shaheen doesn't really care which one he usually.
Yeah.
He doesn't care which one he picks off, and the ones that are kind of unique, the natural orders, the glimpse of natures, those ones aren't turn 1 drops.
Yeah. They require a little bit of setup too.
Exactly. So kind of all of Ross's turn 1 plays are interchangeable. Shaheen really doesn't care which one he takes out with those Thoughtseize and those Inquisitions. He just wants to get a card out of his hand to keep it out of play.
Yep. So we see Ross taking a look at his 6 cards. He looks happy. He's just see a Verdant Catacomb among others in his hand. We're going to start off here with the Bayou into a Nettle Sentinel, and then kick it back over to Shaheen. Shaheen will take a draw. You see a Forcible in his hand and an Underground Sea as his land for the turn. Elvish Visionary, the draw here. You see a Wirewood Symbiote in his hand as well right now, Tom. So a bit of a small combo he can get going.
Shaheen's hand looks like a couple Forcibles, a Snapcaster Mage, and a Supreme Verdict, I believe that is. And possibly the Intuition as well. Not the greatest hand. Again, no turn 1 with 3 Forcibles.
3 forces, wow.
No, I actually don't like Forcible that much in this matchup. I think it's a necessary evil. You do leave it in.
Yeah.
But because so much is about trading 1 for 1, and most of Ross's cards being very interchangeable, you want to stay ahead on cards. So pitching 2, the only things you really want to pitch 2 to stop are Glimpse of Nature or Natural Order. So I think you don't want to get too flooded into those. Here we see him drawing several. He'll probably pitch 1 to the 2nd.
Yeah.
And then save the 3rd.
Yeah. The question is, a card like Elvish Visionary, this is a boring old card, doesn't seem like it's worth forcibling, but this is a card that gets the combo elf deck going. Were you going to forcible this?
No, I'm saving for the Wired Symbiote that really or the Heritage Druid.
Yeah.
Those are the 2 cards you're worried about, especially holding this Supreme Verdict in your hand.
Yeah. And if you're Ross and you get your Wirewood Symbiote forcible, you don't really mind all that much either. As you do see, Shaheen does draw a Swords to Plowshares for the turn, plays a Tundra, and is going to pass the turn back.
Again, on the play, down a card on a mulligan. Ross is trying to make up card advantage.
You're going to see on the upkeep here, going to take care of a Nettle Sentinel, a play that you don't seem to be in love with right now.
No, I don't think there's any need to do this here. Again, you have the Supreme Verdict in your hand. Wait to see what Ross is doing. If Ross plays something that will be combo-ish with that Nettle Sentinel, sure, pull the trigger. But again, I'd much rather let a Wired Symbiote resolve and then just pick that thing off.
Sure.
Maybe just pick off the Visionary, which is combo with that Wired Symbiote. I think both the other targets now in play are better things to swords here than the Nettle Sentinel. Your only goal here really is just to stall until turn 4.
Yeah.
And then
just want to stay alive and don't let Ross get too much of an advantage.
And the way he's not killing with damage in the first 4 turns.
Yeah.
So you don't need to worry about the fact there's a 2/2 body kind of picking at you.
You're going to see a Wirewood Symbiote and a Deathrite Shaman there from Merriam. He does pass the turn back. Shaheen does have a Swamp, and he does pass the turn back. So
he's saying, whoa, still my turn, sir.
Oh, yeah, not quite done yet. I've got a Snapcaster Mage and a Swords of Plowshares that's going to take care of the Symbiote. So now that's gone. So I think those are the 2 problem cards. As Ross is going to pick up the Elvish Visionary, looking to draw another card. So I think 2 problemsome green creatures are gone right now.
Sure. And I mean, because he had the Snapcaster Mage, you definitely want a Swords on that turn. I would just wait for Ross to announce a spell.
Sure. Doesn't
see what
happens.
happens.
Yep. So Elvish
We're just waiting for
Visionary,
him to attack.
yeah, Elvish Visionary is going to draw Ross's card. He draws a Misty Rainforest, so he does have a land to play for the turn. You do see another Nettle Sentinel in his hand to go along with a Natural Order. Looks like two copies of Natural Orders and a Kosali Pride Mage in case a piece of equipment does show up.
And the problem, so Natural Order, this is really the challenge here. So Elves combos off by getting a critical mass of Elves, naturally going to Behemoth and kill you.
Yep.
It's very hard to assemble that critical mass, so Natural Order is not actually that threatening in this game. Game 1, we saw it actually be enough for lethal, but I think that's because Shaheen got a little ahead of himself and wasn't careful.
Yep.
Now that he knows, oh wait, okay, I see how quickly you can get that assembled and how much damage that can do, he's going to play a little more safely and make sure that that doesn't happen.
Shaheen's going to start his turn with a Brainstorm. A couple of lands there with the Plains and a Scrubland to go along with the Ponder. We know about those multiple Forcibles, so let's see how he's going to put some cards back here. Make sure you can hold enough blue cards to maybe counter 2 spells in one turn. And as you said, Tom, he does have that Supreme Verdict in his hand that he's been just trying to set up and just buy enough time to make it be a 3, potentially a 4 for 1, clear everything up.
And he's going to get that here. I mean, I would be putting back Lingering Souls because I don't really care about Lingering Souls.
Yeah.
Shaheen's plan, you know, we can keep harping on that point, but I think his plan here is reasonable. He's going to sweep, and then he wants to get the game over.
Yeah.
And certainly understand where he's coming from there.
And now you're going to see a Lingering Souls here from Shaheen.
That seems strange. We're wrapping next turn.
He's
Oh,
going
well.
to...
We see the finger wag there. He's like, hold on a second. And the reason why I would have put back the Lingering Souls actually is because I want to cast Ponder here to use all my mana. Wait, why did we shuffle? Oh, we're shuffling Ross's deck. I'm like, Shaheen's actually...
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing.
Especially to put
Why are we
Supreme Verdict
shuffling?
back on top.
Yes. And Supreme Verdict is back on top of his deck right now. I think, you know, the reason he did that is to dodge Cabal Therapy in case Ross didn't draw it in. So I'm certainly in love with that play, because you don't want to have to force a full Cabal Therapy and then force a will it again. That stinks. So Shaheen, is he going to Ponder?
I actually like that. No, Ponder's much better as a fuel for the Force Will. And I think Shaheen's right here not to do it. And just say go.
And he is going to say go. You know, part of the reason I was thinking that maybe he wanted to cast that Lingering Souls, as Ross does draw Birchlore Rangers, is by casting Lingering Souls, it kind of masks the fact that you do have Supreme Verdict. Say, oh man, I need these to block. This sucks. And then Ross goes, all right, green lights on. I'm going to do this. And Shaheen just goes, oh, okay, untap Supreme Verdict. You move on.
But I mean, he doesn't really need it to block, and I think he can get the same effect here. I mean, having tapped the 3 and then untapping, that's a little awkward. It's like, I was going to cast Lingering Souls. Oh, wait, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
That one, not maybe where he wanted to be, but... and here we see him now going for this Natural Order. That's going to go ahead and get Force of Will.
That is going to get Force of Will.
Pitching up the other Force. I like this pitch.
Does have a Force of Will and a Ponder in his hand, does Shaheen, as well, just in case anything does go wrong. Elvish Visionary here and ready to attack. Doesn't look that way.
So it looks from... Oh, interesting.
All right, here we go.
Oh, yep, boink. And now we don't even need to cast this Supreme Verdict necessarily. I might just Ponder here.
Maybe get a little more information?
I would just, I don't... Those 2 creatures don't matter. He's not threatening a Natural Order here. I'm actually starting to come around to the way Shaheen played last game.
Okay.
I'm appreciating now actually what Ross needs to actually pose a threat.
Okay.
And Shaheen correctly, I think, recognized last game, although now okay, so I'm wrong every game in this side here.
You know, I actually like the verdict here. I like the verdict there just because, as you said, you know, you want to trade your resources very quickly, and so he just wants to go, okay, 2 for 1, good enough. Let's move on. Here's a Finhorn Health. Here's a Kosali Pride Mage. You know, if he were to draw a verdict this turn, I think he'd pull the trigger again and just say, okay, 2 for 1, let's move on. But he's going to cast Lingering Souls and flash it back right now.
I understand where he's coming from. My point there is just that Ross really wasn't threatening anything.
Yep.
In that spot, like, it's very hard to imagine a hand of his that is scary for Shaheen. So you can just kind of for free bait him into going deeper.
And Ross is going to go for another Natural Order here. That is countered yet again by Force 1 Ponder, and so now both players are going to be playing off the top. Ross does have this Pride Mage and that Finhorn Elf versus these 4 Lingering Spirit tokens, or Lingering Souls tokens, which are spirits. Let's see what Shaheen does draw.
The other big difference is last game, Shaheen had a Jace. And because he had a Jace, I think you can be more aggressive with your sweepers. Here you don't have a Jace. This game, he could easily lose this game from this position.
Yeah, I mean, they're just both drawing off the top.
He needed to get more of an advantage out of the sweeper here because he didn't have the trump card in that Jace.
Okay. Shaheen draws a Stoneforge Mystic.
That's a good one.
That's well, you put it in your deck so you can draw it, as he is going to search his deck for either a Batterskull or an Umezawa's Jite. And of course, you do see for Ross, he has... He says, can I get this Engineer Explosives? Absolutely not, says Merriam. As he does have a Kosali Pride Mage in play to be able to try to take care of that Batterskull, but with a little bit of nifty timing, it's not actually going to be able to happen.
And that's why Shaheen would much rather have Jit. Jit ends the game.
Yep.
But Jit does not interact with Pride Mage well. Batterskull plays around it. And the way, I mean, just to make it clear, the way it plays around is he's going to spend 2 mana to put into play with that Stoneforge Mystic, leaving 3 mana untapped at all times. So if Ross ever tries to pull the trigger, he just return it to his hand with that Batterskull's second ability. And we can bring Batterskull here up on the screen for you to see it, but it's the 3 mana, bounce it back to your hand.
Yep. And if you're not familiar with Batterskull by now, you certainly should be.
It's been around for a while. It's been a dominant force in Legacy. It played a big role in Standard as well in Cobblade. And there we see it right.
Elvish Visionary, the draw here for Merriam. He draws into
Another natural
another
order.
natural order. Okay.
That one is actually scary.
That one, I agree with you, is actually scary. As now Shaheen's going to untap, he's going to draw a card. He draws I believe that's an intuition.
Makes it less scary. So now, this attack makes complete sense here. Again, he has that Batterskull to make it hard for Ross to attack him. And what's going to happen is if Ross goes for natural order, Shaheen can just intuition for 3 Swords to Plowshares and just swords the Behemoth before it gets to attack. With the trigger still in the stack, and the 2 creatures left over only get +2/+2.
So he will intuition for. You're saying he's going to intuition for 3 Swords to Plowshares?
If the natural order happens.
Sure, gotcha. So I'd say that's a pretty good draw then.
That was a great draw.
Yeah, that was a great draw. I didn't realize how good intuition could be there, but the versatility of that card, as Ross does draw a Misty Rainforest, so he can maybe, the question here if you're Ross is, do I pull the trigger on this natural order right now? Because I can sack this Misty Rainforest. I can't get a Dryad Arbor with that. Maybe I draw another land, perhaps, and then my Dryad Arbor gets big. My Behemoth gives guys +5/+5, but it looks like he's going to make his move here.
Yep.
He's going to sacrifice this Misty Rainforest, search for a Dryad Arbor.
So the one downside again the Dryad Arbor is now he does not have mana up for the Crystallic Pride Mage.
He's going to natural order. He's going to sacrifice the Dryad Arbor, and he's wondering, okay, is that resolved? And let's see if Shaheen does what you said, which is intuition for multiple Swords of Plowshares, because when you think about natural order being put on the stack, as an Esper Stoneblade player, what you think about is, all right, I have to counter this.
Right,
that's the first thing, but he cannot do that. Now, intuition is the card that can get him out of a lot of trouble right now, but he has to do exactly what you brought up.
Yep.
Now, you see Shaheen doing a lot of combat math right now. How big are these creatures going to be? What do my blocks look like here? I'm at 14 life. Is this enough to kill me? We'll see, Tom, if he finds the same line of play that you do.
I mean, there's no reason to do anything until it resolves. Let's get that Behemoth into play. Oh, I think this is premature.
All right, intuition.
Now Ross gets more information.
Do you think it's possible Ross changes his target? And he doesn't really have much better. He doesn't have a Regal Force in his deck, which I was a little bit surprised. He could have boarded in Progenitus. That is very, very true.
Here and if you don't get swords, you just die to the Behemoth. If you do get swords, he goes as Progenitus. If you wait, you can go get Perish, Supreme Verdict, Snapcaster Mage, and then you can Wrath no matter what next turn. So I think this is... He might not be thinking... He's just going to die, isn't he? So let's make sure it is lethal. It's going to be 4 times 3 is 12, 17, 18, 19. He's attacking. Yeah, so this is lethal. Oh no, he has the Batterskull.
He has the Batterskull to go up to 18.
Okay, so it's
virtual life total is 18.
Okay, so it's not going to be. So he gets that pile, but why not wait to make Ross get the creature first and commit?
Yep.
There's no reason to pull the trigger until it's resolved.
So Behemoth's going to come into play. It's going to give everybody +4/+4, correct? So Pride Mage is going to be an 8/8. Visionary is going to be a 5/5.
Yep.
That's going to be 13, and Behemoth is going to be a 9/9.
Yep.
So 13 + 9 is 21. 21 - 4 is 17.
Yep, and then minus another 4 because of the lifelink is 13. So Sheen's going to end up at 1. In much, much worse shape than he would be if he just waited and went and pulled the trigger on a Swords of Plowshares here.
So now there's a Crater Hoof Behemoth.
Now, Shaheen used 2 swords this game? Is it possible I'm just misremembering and he didn't have 3 left?
I believe he only used 1.
I think so too.
We could be incorrect, as you're going to see Batterskull jump in front of the Crater of Behemoth. That's going to be a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 - 4 is 5, plus the lifelink, so it's going to deal a net of 1.
Yep.
Is
and
the Behemoth.
The rest are doing another 8, 9, 10, 11. So is he ending at 2? Did we do the math wrong? I thought he's ending at 1. Let's just double check this. So he's doing 12, 13, 14, 15, 20. Attacking for 20. Minus 8 is 12, so 2. Shaheen ends at 2.
Yep. I believe the math does work out, and it is too.
And so the alternative play there, so had Shaheen just gone and gotten those Swords to Plowshares, he could have just Swords the Behemoth with the ability on the stack. Ross would gain 5. The remaining 2 creatures would both get +3/+3, and he could only then attack for 9, putting Shaheen to 5, and then Shaheen would still have this Batter Skull in his hand with the Germ Token on it in a kind of a much cleaner board state.
Shaheen draws a Stoneforge Mystic for the turn. He does tap his lands very quickly. He untaps, and now he's going to go.
Right.
He's going to start to think a little bit.
He's thinking about equipping and just attacking.
Yep.
To gain some life back, but that actually leaves him dead to another natural order off the top.
Mm-hmm. He needs to, they're already 3. Now you're going to see attackers, all the guys. Now, yeah, he's going to kill Trigger Supreme Verdict, and he rightfully should here. Let's clear this up. Your draws are a lot better than Ross's in this situation. By my own, you already have a Batter Skull in play. You're doing fantastic as Ross draws a glimpse of nature and passes the turn.
If he just drew a Nettle Sentinel there, he'd be threatening lethal, forcing Shaheen to then to chump with his Stoneforge Mystic.
So Shaheen's going to search out Nimuzaw's Jeet, which threatens to just end this game on the spot. One connection with that makes it a wrap.
Yes, from this state it does.
Now, some people at home are wondering on Twitter if Ross did bring in a Progenitus. That's something that we don't know.
We do not know that yet.
And, Ross and Shaheen have the privilege of seeing each other's deck list. So, Ross does know that Shaheen does have, again, 2 Supreme Verdicts and a Perish after sideboard, which can take care of Progenitus if it does get in play via natural order. So it's easy for us to predict that he would leave it in his sideboard. He could play a little game inside the game and bring it in. Maybe Shaheen does something incorrectly. But at this juncture, we don't know for sure if he did bring it in or did not.
And there Shaheen chooses to play the second Stoneforge Mystic. I think that's fine. He could have left up mana to bounce the Batter Skull. This way, though, he can just equip the Batter Skull now into one of them and just start gaining that life and get going. Now he's kind of a abundance of options. Yeah, I like this play the most, actually.
Stick with it.
Yeah, just legit, while you do want to get it going, you're not afraid of one card.
Yep.
This is the fastest way to kill him. And that actually will do it.
Yeah, and that's going to do it. And again, the underlying point of this matchup is Shaheen has proven that he will play very, very aggressively.
Sure.
He will take some risks to get the wins, and he makes an aggressive line that turn. His Nimuzaw's Jeet and a Jace the Mindsweeper was his draw step. Could you fault him for playing either one of those cards? Absolutely not. You could, yeah.
I could.
Yeah, you could. As a Stoneblade Master, you could. Well, as someone who's looking at a legendary equipment that broke standard for a little while, and a Planeswalker who defines multiple formats, I can convince myself to guess any one of those cards.
Shaheen and I have talked a lot about this deck, and he's been playing it for a while. I think he would expect nothing less than from me then to hold him to the highest of standards, and so I will do that in my best opinion. Although I think in some spots he's actually been more correct than I have a couple times, even in this match with some of those brainstorms.
Yep.
Although I think I do find it kind of funny that in game 1 I would have verdicted when he didn't, in this game I would have not when he did.
Yeah.
I do like my lines in both of those spots, and actually interesting to talk to Shaheen and see what was his logic there, because maybe he had a line there that I didn't consider.
Yep.
And I look at this opportunity now, maybe I can improve the way I'm playing the deck too. So I'm pretty excited to get that chance.
Yeah. So we are going to cut back to the booth here because we are going to do a 6-month trivia question. And again, for those of you guys who have never played before, very quickly, hashtag your answer on Twitter, SCG Premium. I'm going to ask you a question. We'll select one of the winners, and we'll give it away at some point during this round or after to give away 6 months of premium. The question here is going to be about our Q4 schedule for SCG Live, which we did announce yesterday.
Yep.
We'll probably go over it again today at some point, as we will have some time to fill, I'm sure, when we're either going over the rest of these matches or our Legacy Open that we're going to cover after we do crown an Invitational Champion. The question for you guys is that we are going to have another Invitational at the very end of the year. It's in a pretty sweet city.
It is.
We've held some SCG Opens there. I've done some coverage there. I think it's a city that everybody kind of likes.
Are you just copying our question from this morning?
Huh?
You're copying our question.
Did you ask this question already?
We asked this question.
No, are you serious?
Yes.
Well, yeah, I am copying it then. Too bad. The city's so awesome. I don't care. Where's the last Invitational in December in Q4? I don't care. I'll ask it again because I'm looking forward to it that much. Where is it? And if you can name it, we'll give away 6 months of premium. Hashtag your answer, SCG Premium.
I hope our technology team is capable of separating out the votes from this morning from the votes now. You may be putting a big burden on them
Well,
to figure it out. But
the thing is,
that's on them,
they're
not on you guys.
super good at their job, so I'm not worried about it at all. It's not like a big deal at all. So, that's the question. Now you made me feel bad I asked the same question again.
Hey,
how am I supposed to know?
creative.
I was burning
Be
over
creative.
there. Wow.
Come on, think outside the box, Cedric.
I don't know anything about outside the box. I like to stay very much in the box, Tom.
Speaking of the box, why don't we go back over to the table where we can watch Some more outside the box thinking here with Shaheen Soorani.
Now, if you're Merriam here, you're down 2 games. You won game 1, and I feel like if I'm Ross in the situation, I feel like I won game 1 because Shaheen messed up.
Yes.
I think Shaheen just didn't analyze what I was capable of doing and how much damage I was capable of doing. And then the other 2 games have been one-sided in Shaheen's favor, in my opinion.
Sure. I mean, that game, I think Shaheen made a similar sort of underestimation on what Ross had available to him, and maybe Ross is aware of that, maybe not. I mean, if I'm Ross right now, I'm thinking about what I'm going to have for dinner.
Okay.
Because I know this match is over.
Yeah, you're not feeling good.
Homeboy's not losing this one.
Not feeling good if you're Ross.
One.
You know, I'm thinking I won game 1. I may have gotten a little bit fortunate. Game 2 and game 3, I don't really feel like I was very much in it.
Yep.
Because I do have a lot of bad draw steps, and he's really tearing apart my hand. And these match removal spells are a pain to play against, and he can always find them with brainstorms. What do I need to do to win this 4th game and move on to a 5th one?
Kill him on turn 3, like we saw in game 1.
Yeah, that's just it.
I mean, that's your best chance. I mean, get him before those Supreme Verdicts go online. I think that's really what you want to do here. And obviously, you can't always control that, but I think you take some risks. You expose yourself to some spot removal spells because you assume that if the game goes 4, 5, 6 turns, Shaheen's going to find a way to sweep your board and take over the game. Yeah. So I like Ross taking aggressive lines, and I think he's been doing that more or less when he had the chances to do so.
Yeah, I think he's certainly taking aggressive lines.
Yep.
If he's playing the game in a way that I hope that Shaheen does not have it. Multiple times we saw him just cast natural order and just going, I hope you don't have Force of Will.
Right.
And he had multiple times.
Yep.
And I think, I agree with you that he does have to play very aggressive and just kind of cross his fingers and hope there's no swords, hope there's no Force of Will, hope there's no Verdict or Perish. And, it hasn't worked out in these 2 games.
Yes.
We'll see if it works out in this 4th one.
Yep. And I think, the only spots where I've really disagreed with Ross's play is when he's already so far out of the game and he's losing his 3% to claw back into it.
Yeah.
And those are the kind of mistakes where if you're going to make mistakes, those are the ones to make because they don't cost you that much.
Yeah.
I think he's getting kind of the broad strokes and the good strategic planning correct.
Yeah.
And that's where you're gonna see a lot of your wins come from.
Yeah. Yeah. The nice thing here is that you can see that both players certainly have a game plan. On both sides. Shaheen looks like, I think it's very clear he knows what he's trying to accomplish, and he's trying to accomplish it aggressively. On the flip side, Merriam is also trying to be very aggressive in what he's trying to accomplish, and maybe taking the cross your fingers approach and just try to get there. There's no really dilly-dallying around and going, I don't know what I'm supposed to do in this mid-game and what to play around. I don't think that exists here at all.
I do think, though, Shaheen will be a little better served if he just, and we saw this in that last game, with the slightly premature Supreme Verdict, is just how much do I need to get out of my answers?
Okay.
Can I afford to pull the trigger now, or do I need to wait a little bit because I don't have enough follow-up? And here we see, Ross off with a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman and having the Glimpse of Nature in hand. Yep. Setting up for a potentially kind of an explosive draw.
You see Inquisition here from Soorani writing the cards down. Craterhoof Behemoth, Windswept Teeth, another Deathrite Shaman, a Birchlaw Ranger, and a Glimpse of Nature.
Shaheen have a second land? Sorry, didn't mean to come over the
top.
No,
that's
there.
okay.
Please
it's certainly a good question to see if he does have a second land or a Force of Will in his hand. And he's going to take Deathrite Shaman. Now, this is dangerous.
He does have Force of Will.
Okay, so he does have Force of Will.
And Jit. And I'm just not going to... He has that Marsh Flats right there in the middle, and a Snapcaster.
Okay, because if I'm Ross, I want to start off my turn, I think, with Glimpse of Nature. I want to cantrip a couple turns, a couple times if I can. He drew a Llanowar Elf. He has mana because of Deathrite Shaman.
And just immediately snapping off that Inquisition. Interesting. That, a little confused by that line. But in here, no. Yeah, so Sheen's going to get the Brainstorm here. Which is exactly what he wants to do. Brainstorm, find more land, which he does. Shuffle, fetch, Thoughtseize. He's going to shuffle away probably the Ponder, okay. I think he's shuffling the Snapcaster, which makes sense as well.
Like you, I'm very surprised with the removal of Inquisition there via Deathrite Shaman.
I'm not sure I would have glimpsed there. I think that one could go. I need to think a little more about that.
Yep.
But I don't see any reason just to snap off the Inquisition right there.
Not until turn 3. Not until he has 3 lands and can represent Snapcaster on that.
So Shaheen here
very
tanking.
Surprising, yeah.
Does he want the Snapcaster or does he want the Ponder? I personally want the Snapcaster because I'm going to be swordsing the Deathrite Shaman.
You want to be able to re-swords again.
And then I'll have another swords to go.
Okay.
I also have this Thoughtseize in my hand. Maybe I want to re-Thoughtseize.
Okay.
I think it's very, very close. And I don't fault Shaheen for either of these 2 lines. I'm not convinced, one is clearly better.
He's going to put Snapcaster Mage back. He's going to sacrifice the Marsh Flats, and as he does search up a land and cast that Thoughtseize, I want to update you on the Jerry Thompson-Brian Braun match. Jerry Thompson does win game number 3, so Brian is still up 2-1. Jerry tried to claw his way back, maybe force a game 5, maybe win the match and move on to the finals. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle we go. There's a scrub land. Here is a Thoughtseize.
And again, though, what we're seeing here is Shaheen, and again, why I thought that Esper Stoneblade is very structurally favored in this matchup is elves cannot take on all these 1-for-1 trades. It is a really hard time keeping up with that. And we see this, you know, kind of each of these games that Shaheen's winning is he's getting a lot of value out of these 1-for-1 trades.
So now we're going to see a Thoughtseize. Shaheen going to move down to 15. What card are you going to take? Glimpse of Nature, which doesn't surprise me too much, as Ross is going to untap. He's going to draw. We see another Craterhoof Behemoth. That is very unfortunate.
Now his natural orders are almost dead.
Yes.
Shaheen may even be able to find that out at some point. Shaheen doesn't know that quite yet.
Yep.
But if Shaheen gets to look at his hand one more time and sees that, he is almost nothing to be afraid of.
Yeah, I mean, at no point is I don't want to speak with, you know, in absolutes, but if Ross casts a natural order now, if Shaheen sees his hand, I can't imagine him countering it.
Oh no. I mean, maybe it gets Progenitus if he brought it in, but more likely than not, it's getting an Elvish Visionary.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not, because there's no Regal Force in this deck, there's no fallback plan.
So here's a Ponder to start Shaheen's turn. 3 cards with a Plains, a Jace, and a Snapcaster Mage.
That is a good set of 3 cards.
Those are good Magic cards. I don't know if you knew that. Actually, I do know that you do know that. As he's going to take the Plains.
I believe that's his 4th land. Yeah, he has a Crocus as well.
Only 1 blue.
That's fine though.
Okay.
Supreme Verdict only takes 1 blue.
That's true.
The critical thing here is not the Jace. The critical thing here is the Supreme Verdict.
Deathrite Shaman removes a card. Ross is going to draw a Queer and Ranger. You see he's trying to pace this game a little bit here, trying to break up Wrath effects as you see him coming in there with the Finhorn off. But as you said, Tom, when you 1-for-1 people into the ground, you make them extend, and that's when Supreme Verdict can perish, clean up the mess. As you're going to see Ross remove a Ponder here so that Shaheen can't go Snapcaster plus Ponder. And now he's going to untap that. Ooh, I like that, actually.
That was a nice play.
Yeah.
Well, I would have used it right away on that. I guess you can always just respond as Snapcaster.
And now there's your Supreme Verdict. That's going to take care of that Thoughtseize.
We have here again, we have Ross with basically no cards. He's never hard casting a Behemoth from this board state.
No.
Because he really needs to have a lot of elves and cradles going on to get that. Actually, shouldn't say never. He could get claw back that. Let's back it.
Yeah.
Unlikely.
Yes.
And we see here now on Shaheen's side, you know, Shaheen has a Sword to Plowshares. Yep. He has a Jace the Mind Sculptor, and a Brainstorm, and a Snapcaster Mage. I mean, he has all the tools. Digging now for the 2nd blue mana, which I also like. Again, taking his kind of more aggressive Brainstorm.
Does not find it,
and no shuffle effect either.
So he finds a Jace the Mind Sculptor. He finds a counterspell, Force of Wills in his hand as well. So not a ton, but a little bit of trouble here.
Trouble's a strong word. He's just have to wait this out. He has to wait 2 turns. He can afford to though because his hand has all the answers. You know, he's going to get to double Swords to Plowshares in that time. He doesn't mind. You know, that's 2 draw steps of Ross. That's 2 turns of Shaheen. All of a sudden, he's through those 2 dead cards on top of his library, and still has these Force of Wills waiting to go.
And now Dryad Arbor. Shaheen knew that was trouble when it walked in, so that's got to go. Swords to Plowshares is going to take care of that. You like the use of swords there on that land?
Yeah. In this game, I think I've agreed with basically every one of Shaheen's plays. I think he's played this game the same lines I would be taking.
Still just playing the game very aggressively, as he has in most of them.
Not even. I mean, no, I actually would not clarify this as being that aggressive a whole lot. I mean, he's just minimizing Ross's resources here, right? He's getting the most out of his interactive cards as he can.
So we're going to see Ross serve on in there with the Elvish Visionary. Misty Rainforest is the draw. There's a Misty. There's a Virtual Ranger. Excuse me. So passing the turn back, Shaheen draws a Jace the Mind Sculptor. Going to play a Snapcaster Mage.
This one's ambitious. Okay.
There's the swords to take care of.
Restore just the.
How do you feel about that swords target instead of maybe the Visionary with Wire with Simulate being a draw?
You see 2 Force of Wills. That thing's not resolving.
Okay.
No threatening elf is resolving right now, and we see Ross here just drawing land after land, unfortunately for him. So I think that play was fine. And Shaheen now is through the cards we knew about. Yep. Still has 2 Force Wills up to protect himself. And as soon as he draws a blue mana source, that Jace will very quickly put this game out of reach.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
Attention players.
I wonder if this match, assuming Osip sees this, we'll change his opinion. 'Cause this is how this match goes. It's just so hard for elves being a critical mass deck that relies on creatures to interact with Esper. Unlike Ant, or Ant,
Yeah.
is the legacy version.
Yeah, or even of Storm, or you know, even of Belcher.
Right.
A deck of critical mass spells in hand, nothing in play.
And that turns, and you know, we have Wraths, and we have these 4 Swords to Plowshares that are interactive on that axis. Those are all live in these matchups. They're dead in the Ant combo matchups. That's what makes those matchups more challenging.
Gonna see Raw sacrifice a Misty Rainforest here. His draw for the turn was a natural order.
So he does not yet know that there's no Behemoth left in the library. He will probably be countering this.
Yep. Forcible takes care of that.
With perfect information, he would be not countering it. Doesn't have that.
He removes a Jason the Mind Sculptor. Has another Jason's hand, I think. So
He
not
does.
a big deal.
And
he does
there's
draw
the
Marsh
mana.
Flats, and that is the dagger.
Yeah.
That's the one. And Shaheen is going to check his lands here. I think he's probably going to want an underground state.
Attention
Yeah.
players.
So he has more black mana. He's got plenty of white mana here, as he is at 5. And you know, being at 5 is not 0. So Jace the Mind Sculptor looks like he's actually at 4, but again, 4 is not 0. And it looks like Jace the Mind Sculptor is going to take this game over. We'll see if Shaheen is ever going to Fate Seal with it and tick it up, or if he's going to Brainstorm. My money's on Brainstorm.
I mean, I just put the dice on 5. This is me.
Yeah.
I already have the Forcible in my hand. Don't need to get anything more out of my library.
No.
Although, actually, I don't mind a Brainstorm here, trying to find a different blue card. You don't
Okay.
want to pitch your counterspell.
Yep.
You want to hold your counterspell. So, in that sense, this Brainstorm, I actually think is, again, probably right. My instinct here is the plus.
Yep.
But I think Shaheen's correct here on the Brainstorm.
So 1, 2, 3, couple blue cards.
And a little linger action.
You do have to let it linger on occasion, Tom. As you see Ponder and Intuition, and it looks like he's going to put Intuition back so that he can probably Intuition out his Lingering Souls. Doesn't want to draw one.
Exactly.
And he's more than happy to remove a Ponder that Forcible, as Green Sun Zenith is the draw here for Ross.
You should probably cast it for 2 here to try to get a Visionary.
I think that's his best bet. I think for 1 doesn't really do very much. The one thing he can do for 1 is he can search out a Deathrite Shaman. With Shaheen at 4, he can try to get a little bit lucky, but this is going to be for 2. And even though it is for 2, he can still search for a 1.
I was about to say, I think what he should do is get the Deathrite Shaman, but hope that Shaheen will think, oh, 2. If I'm Shaheen, I actually do Forcible this.
Okay, so he's going to
Okay.
search for Obus Motionary. He could have got a little bit techie there.
I liked getting the Deathrite Shaman there and kind of baiting Shaheen into that line. That said, I mean, Shaheen could always just bounce it with the Jace
And then counter on the way back down.
and kind of on the way back down.
Yep.
See what he's going to do, get your information. So getting the Visionary from that perspective does make sense. What I expect to have happen now is Shaheen is just going to go ahead and you draw a Viridian Shaman. Is
Yeah.
that what we saw? Okay.
You expect Shaheen to?
So you go ahead and forgot he likes to brainstorm.
Yeah.
Of course.
Don't. Forgot he likes to use Jace.
Of course. Oh gosh, Stoneforge Mystic with enough mana to. Oh, don't put the land back. No, don't do that. I don't like that at all. Because if he keeps the land, he gets to go get Jit, play Jit, equip Jit, attack.
Sure.
Well, that's probably still
Just
fine.
get it over all on one fell
Yeah.
swoop. Gotcha. I understand. I
You
understand
know-
the rationale there.
Leaving up Counterspell though is definitely a safer play, probably a better play. But yeah, actually I think Shaheen's line there is very good. Children of Restraint.
Yeah, because now he can. If he does the thing that you're speaking of, and it seems like these are all kind of minuscule at this point. He keeps the land, plays Mystic, gets Jet, play it, equip it, attack you, kill the Visionary, then it gets Shaman.
Right. There's no reason to let it get Shaman. And here, end of turn, he's casting this.
But I guess he can just force the Shaman as well. So
Right.
again, as we said, some minuscule things here, nothing major. It looks like Shaheen is going to end up moving on to the finals, and what I believe is a relatively well played match here by him.
I honestly think he just wants to go and get 3 lands. Like, he's not. He's getting some spicy stuff. Not getting the Lingering Souls.
Yeah, I mean, he's just trying to put. To me, he's just trying to put the stranglehold in this game and just put inevitability up. That's
And
all.
this here makes sense because he has that counterspell in his hand.
Mm-hmm.
He has only 2 blue mana sources, but he assumes that with that Jace he can dig for a 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
He'll then be able to counterspell, Snapcaster counterspell, Force of Will. That's game over.
All the cards you just said, they're just all way too powerful. Just all these blue cards.
It's
Jace,
funny. It's funny
Jace,
that I want to put them all
Snapcaster.
in the same deck and play with this deck, and then I think this deck might be the best deck in Legacy. I wonder why. I wonder why I have this opinion.
Yeah, Jace, Snapcaster, Who's That Shit, Batterskull, Stoneforge Mystic. Yeah, just all these absurdly powerful cards.
It's cool though. You can go and play with your
Oh, don't judge me about Goblin Lackey. Don't you even think about
I was
it.
just saying you can play with your Nimble Mongoose if you want.
See, polluted up to the draw step here for Shaheen.
And there's that blue mana that he wants to be able to get that the third blue source. So right now, I would probably just put this Jit into play. And I would put it onto my guy. And I would attack with my guy. And I would leave up this counterspell. I believe Shaheen has come to the same conclusion.
Yes. Using a very powerful weapon.
Yeah, Snapcaster's going to stay at home.
So there is your powerful weapon on the screen for you guys. A card that did dominate for the entire time, I think it was in Standard. And also like that block and strike format if you weren't playing Gifts. And he was still good then.
Yep. So Jay's now going to... going up.
Oh my god. Elevator is... It's gone. Oh,
no.
Oh my god. Wow.
Why do you tease me, Shaheen?
Does he know? Does he know?
Wait for it.
Wait.
Oh,
no.
geez,
We can't get a Fate Seal out of him.
I don't
it
understand.
Can't be done.
Why do we hate Fate Sealing so much?
Why do you not like drawing 3 cards and putting 2 back?
I do, but
not as much as him.
Clearly. I don't need to do it like every turn. That's not even sporting, man.
He was so close. So close to the elevator going up. You know, I think what happened is earlier when Shaheen lost by ultimating Jace, he just said, no more. I'm not ever going up again. This
Even
is ridiculous.
in that game, though, he lost because he brainstormed 14 times before he started going up. He brainstormed until he only had like 10 cards in his library and then tried to deck the guy. If he'd gone up from day 1, he would have been fine. He had 7 Lingering Souls tokens in play. He jumped 7 times in a row while brainstorming. Imagine you jump 7 times in a row while going up.
Hey, this might influence. This might influence.
That's 17 loyalty. You don't need 17 loyalty to Ultimate Jace.
As we're going to see a counterspell take care of the Meridian Shopping. He might be traumatized.
He was at like 35 life.
Jace's ultimate
and
losing. It's never going up again. No, sorry, Bob.
Oh, man.
Shaheen wants control of what's going on here. I can control those 3 cards that I draw. I can't control. I put a card on the bottom. You can draw anything. It's going to come across here with a Stoneforge Mystic. Jit counters are going to move up. You see Snapcaster come up as well. And he's literally teasing us. He's literally teasing us. Someone has to be telling him right now. What's that spotter saying to Shaheen? I swear he's saying something as we see a Stoneforge Mystic. Gonna search out the batter's skull.
Shaheen, all business. Look at him, so serious.
I can't wait till he goes back and watches this. So when I tell him about this, he's just gonna die laughing. Oh man, too funny. Too funny as he's gonna pass the turn back.
When you have 7 cards in hand, multiple counter spells.
Up to 10. Up to 10. Ross gonna take a draw step here.
Ross doing a little math, calculating how far below 0 he's gonna go next turn.
Yeah.
The only thing left I do like his line here. His only way to win is you have to draw a Glimpse of Nature and somehow miracle. But he's actually, I think, Shaheen's
10.
He's dead on board.
That's 10 right now, right?
Quite.
Yeah, he's counting.
Oh, but he's gonna flash in a Snapcaster Mage to make it lethal.
Yeah, he just wants to make sure he doesn't lose anything absurd. He counts 2, 4, 6 from the Jit, 7 from the Snapcaster, 8, 9 from the Snapcaster, or 7, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is on board right now. Correct?
Yep. So he's actually brainstorming to find a Snapcaster.
Okay.
I think he knows his top couple cards, doesn't find one.
Yeah, Stoneforge
More
Mystic
brainstorming.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Can we say when you have a brainstorm in your hand, maybe Jace can Fate Seal? I mean, can he take 1 turn off?
No, so here's what I think we have to scrap that article that AJ wrote about brainstorming because he doesn't do it nearly as much as Shaheen does. So we're gonna see Batter's Call come in, equip here,
there we go.
And here come the beatdowns, and he's like, if you have a Dried Arbor, it's dead. There's your handshake. Shaheen Soorani with Esper Brainstorm is what I'm gonna call the deck now.
Esper Brainstorm
Does defeat Ross Merriam 3-1 and will be moving on to the finals, playing the winner of Brian Brondowan versus Jerry Thompson. Very, very impressive.
Yeah,
very impressive.
I'm gonna have to take Shaheen though before the Esper review board. He might lose his Jace's license after
Yeah.
this game. We're gonna look into this because wow, that was a lot of brainstorming.
Hey, can't stop, won't stop.
I mean, clearly.
Gotta draw 3 cards. Some people really just like to draw cards. That's all that it is.
I'm one of those people. I understand the lore.